Good morning, I'm just down from Farringdon station and behind me is the Royal Mail's Postal Museum, and inside that building there is an underground railway which you may have heard of, known as Mail Rail. We're going for an explore, a look around and a comprehensive look at everything you need to know about this brilliant underground railway. So I'm at the Postal Museum near Farringdon in central London, and next to the Mount Pleasant sorting office is where the museum is located. There's two sites here, one where we're going to go for a ride on Mail Rail, and then across the street there's the museum which has the history of the postal service. Mail Rail, officially known as the Post Office Railway, opened in 1927 and was an underground railway running for 6.5 miles between Paddington in the west of London to Whitechapel in the east. It connected the Royal Mail sorting offices, the primary ones being at Mount Pleasant, where I am today, as well as Paddington and Liverpool Street, where mail used to arrive by train into those mainline stations. Mail Rail then transported mail bags by underground train, thus avoiding the busy traffic on the congested streets of London. Mail Rail, though, closed in 2003, and for many years it remained mothballed rather than closed. And in 2013, I was actually here on a press tour when plans were announced to turn it into a visitor attraction. That attraction duly opened in 2017, and so now you can come and ride on a section of the track around the Mount Pleasant station, as well as a visit to the museum. But best of all, and what I'm doing today, is that you can go on an after-hours track walk, where a guide will take you on a personal tour down the tunnels, and you can go for a full explore around Mount Pleasant station. And today, I'm getting to go to a normally off-limits section as well, known as the train graveyard.
If we open that...
We have a torch, right?
I have torches, yes. Yeah, this part of the system was never used like in general day-to-day use.
But I start my day by catching up with the head of collections, who's happy to answer all my questions.
Yeah, so the railway originally ran about 6.5 miles across London from what was called the Eastern District Office at Whitechapel to Paddington Mail Centre over in Paddington. And the purpose of the railway was to connect together central London district offices, as they were called, sorting offices if you will, with two of London's mainline railway stations, so Liverpool Street Station and Paddington Station. And so it stopped originally at 8 stations along the line, 2 railway stations, Liverpool Street and Paddington, and then sorting offices, including Mount Pleasant, where we are today and where the Postal Museum is based.
The underground mail trains had no drivers and operated automatically between stations. Controllers were in charge of the train's route by using levers on a switch frame to change the points along the line. Then the switch frames were upgraded with computerization in the 1990s, but the route and track stayed the same. Trains ran on a 2-foot gauge track, being electrically powered by 440 volts on a third rail system. Although within the maintenance area, where there was no third rail, power cables came down from the ceiling to attach to the trains to enable them to be moved around. And that maintenance area is now part of this visitor area which you walk through. And so many people don't notice that you're walking on a raised floor above the original track bed of that maintenance area. Peer down and you can see the old tracks below. Right then, who wants to go for a train ride? We're going for a ride. I'm sat inside a little, I don't know what to call it, compartment I guess.
Remain seated for the duration of the ride and not to lean on the sides of the train, as this may cause it to stop suddenly. Thank you.
Yes, you climb aboard for your ride and you get to take a 15-minute journey around the location of Mount Pleasant Station. This was the largest and busiest of all the stations on the Mail Rail network. And you can see that by the platforms there was an inner and outer track. So you get to go down and pass through the eastbound platform, then loop around and come back through the westbound platform. And this also includes several stops where audio-visual displays give you more information and history of the Mail Rail.
We're under Mount Pleasant sorting office, heading east to Whitechapel. It was hard work down here, but we all thought we were part of something important. There was enormous team spirit.
That's the voice of Ray Middlesworth, an engineer who spent many years of his life working down here in a place which Chris says is where some people still just don't realise is here.
People are often surprised by the existence of Mail Rail. People don't realise that the post office had its own railway system, an underground, but it wasn't only an underground railway system, it was an underground driverless railway system, opened in 1927. So the fact that it was completely automated in 1927, and people think now of things like the Docklands Light Railway as being slightly futuristic because there's no driver. The post office were doing it in 1927.
Yes, the trains were driverless, except if you were an engineer and you went on to what I found next, a battery loco. You know, back in the summer I made a video with Great Western Railway, GWR, about their converted District Line Unit D stock, now a Class 230 battery train. Well, They had battery trains in 1927. There's one right here, this engineering battery loco from the Mail Rail. And that seems fitting because the trains that you can travel on today for the experience aren't from the 1920s, they're modern units, purpose-built. But they are battery-powered. With 24 cells on each in 2 banks of 12, a full charge will last all day and they simply hook up at the end of the day to charge overnight, ready for the next morning. So the museum is closed for the day, visitors have gone, which means we get to do the most exciting part, arguably. Did you know you can come and do what I'm about to do? You can buy tickets on their website to come and do a walking tour of the tunnels. So we're about to put on high-vis, hard hats, because the tunnels are quite small, and we're going for a walk. We're going to meet David and go for an explore on foot inside the tunnels. We squeeze in between the two trains and then make our way slowly down the incline to take us down into the tunnel system. David, what's the height restriction here? I can see why we wear a helmet. Hang on, because I'm
About 4 foot.
I'm now having to duck for the first time. Okay.
So we have now reached the bottom of the incline, come down from the depot, and what we have here is east and west tunnels. So this is where the tracks split to head down towards Mount Pleasant Station. So the platforms are sat sort of in the middle, and then we're heading down to the eastbound platform and the westbound platform just ahead.
It's a little disconcerting walking around these tunnels, but David is an expert that knows where he's going, and he points out some of the branches that lead away from Mount Pleasant that make up the 6.5 miles of track.
So in the darkness just beyond us, we've got tracks coming in from Paddington, and also a loop that runs round to the other side of the station as well.
And in case you do get lost, don't worry, because there's also a handy map on the wall.
So this map here shows us the layout of Mount Pleasant Station, and what we've done here is just walk down the red section of tunnel, which is the incline, and we're now here in the blue area, which is the East Link tunnels.
And when you enter the station, the first thing you stumble upon is this locomotive.
This is a 1980s train. It was delivered to Mail Rail in 1982 and was the last batch of trains to be delivered to the line before its closure. They were known as Greenbats because they were built originally by a company called Greenwood and Batley.
Yeah, and we came past here earlier on the train. So this is almost like ornamental decoration.
It is, yeah, yeah. When the train came to the platform, like here at Mount Pleasant, to bridge the gap between the train and the platform, mind the gap, they had to lower the side of the train. And it was a simple little mechanism like so. So that would sit upon the platform, and then they could wheel the trolleys on and off with ease. And then once done, they could simply pull it back up, locks into place just there, and then the train's ready to go.
And those mail trolleys which you would roll and roll off, there's one here on the platform. I've discovered that if I put my hands on things and touch things, then they get filthy. So do you have hand sanitizer? Because that would be really helpful. But this is an old mail trolley, now repurposed to contain stuff. It's like a greasy smell, but mail bags would have been in here, pushed along the platform, taken to and from the trains. The mail bags would have got in this mail trolley. That is excellent. That is so cool to see. David's telling me there's a line diagram coming up, but I would have by now already expertly drawn my own map. Oh, you mean here on this sign here, and another little loco. Yes. Okay, you need to come and visit if you've not visited. It's just brilliant.
So this conveyor belt here, we are now beneath the sorting office of Mount Pleasant. So the mail bags would have been sorted in the sorting office, sent down a big spiral chute like a helter-skelter, go out onto the conveyor belt here and into the trolleys that you would have seen earlier on.
I'm guessing this is no longer working.
It's not, no, it's completely seized.
If you press that button.
We press the buttons all the time here, yeah. Nothing happens, unfortunately, but they are quite fun to press.
And so just for fun, here's how we think it might have looked like for a mailbag as we dared to recreate its short journey along the conveyor belt like this, which would then go onto the trolley and then loaded onto the train. Like that? Yes. Nailed it. Nailed it first time. Through the connecting corridor and onto the platform on the other side.
All right, so if we go through the door here, we come out onto the westbound platform.
So we were on the west or the east?
We were on the east, we're now on the west.
Now on the west, so that way is...
That's towards Paddington.
That's back towards Paddington.
Yeah.
And that is...
That's Whitechapel in that direction. So the station names were named by the GPO as their sort of western offices. So each sorting office had their own regional name. So there's Western Office, there's District Office. So the station names had the similar. So there weren't names we'd know on the tube and such. Okay. There were more internal names.
Oh no, David said the word tube there, and all this got me thinking on the way home was, how would the mail rail look if it appeared on the tube map? And so here it is. This is what I've drawn, showing how it might be represented if you put it alongside the tube lines in central London from Paddington in the west to Whitechapel in the east. Hang on, Isn't that the route that Crossrail takes, isn't it? Yeah, the Mail Rail is actually a very early version of the purple train. You just walked through a best signal.
Sorry.
And next up, a secret hidden part. It's the train graveyard.
I have a key here.
Is it labelled train graveyard?
It is, yes, labelled by myself. And the tunnel down here will take us to that graveyard and the door.
We've got to see the old train.
Oh, yes. This is really awkward. I am going to have to give you a torch on this bit. It's a little bit dark, but I can...
So there's no lights inside the graveyard?
They're limited lighting. So this part of the system was never used like in general day-to-day use. So it's not as big or as elaborate as the rest. It was just simply a place to park trains out the way. And we've got a mixture of 1980s and 1930s trains sat down here. This particular one here is 1930s, and the one just behind you, Geoff, is the 1980s trains. The reason it got the nickname of train graveyard is that when the line began to be closed down in the late 90s, early 2000s, trains that broke down, rather than mending them, spending time and money doing that, they just basically dumped them down here. Took parts from them to use them on the existing trains that were still running. So it got the nickname of train graveyard.
Wait, and I've just seen, so this bit up here, earlier, that's where the train goes round, yes. And for a fleeting moment you glimpse down into the train graveyard, yes. So we're on the other side of where that is.
Behind the scenes.
Oh my goodness, it's literally behind the scenes, okay. And if I poke my camera up, I can get a shot of the rails up there. All right, yeah. All right, fantastic.
One of the train we have down here is the Hoover, which is this contraption just here. We're an underground tunnel system, no access to the surface whatsoever, so there's a lot of dust accumulates down here, dirt and such. So back in the day, they had a rail-based vacuum cleaner, which we have here. Would have been used to hoover up the dust and dirt. One slight downside, it had to be plugged in to the mains, so there is a roll of cable just here on the end. So it had to be plugged in at a station and then wheeled off into the tunnels. So its range wasn't very far. And it is believed to have caused a lot more dust than it was actually sort of hoovering up at the time as well.
David,
yes.
I just heard the rumble of a train.
Yes.
I'm hoping that's not a Mail Rail train. Would I be right in thinking?
Yep.
We're near the underground here, somewhere. What, Farringdon, King's Cross?
Yes. So this Mount Pleasant station site sits parallel with the underground. So yeah, Farringdon to King's Cross. If you ever travel on that section of line, you are within touching distance of this station.
So the rumbles we can hear now?
Yes.
Are the Met Line trains or the Circle Line trains
yes.
rumbling along? That is incredible. That is incredible. Out of the graveyard, back onto the lit platforms, and my chance to climb on board one of the battery engineering trains. So this is an original 1920s battery loco?
Yes.
And I can climb in?
You can, yeah.
This looks very dusty.
It is.
Are my trousers going to get a bit dusty?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Oh my goodness. Look at that.
Now you're sat facing technically the wrong way.
I'm sat the wrong way. I should be facing that way. Yes. Well, hang on. So you'd have to drive it by looking that way, yes. But with your sort of arm behind you.
Yeah, the seat you're sat on is actually curved to the side.
Oh, so you'd sit like this, and then should there be a handle here?
Yes.
I feel like the handle's missing.
Like trams, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you press, and then that is fantastic. Walking tour complete, we headed out. But remember, Mount Pleasant is only one part of this 6-mile railway. So what about the rest of the track?
Yeah, so the remainder of the network is still maintained by Royal Mail. So the Postal Museum is an independent body. We rent the space here at Mount Pleasant. So we're just tenants here. So we're not responsible for the remainder of the network. So Royal Mail maintain the rest of that network for security and safety and to ensure that it's maintained. And we look after this little bit at Mount Pleasant that we run. So the rest of the tunnel network is still there. Much of the track is still there, but it's no longer used in any way. And remember, it's not just about going for an underground train ride or walking the tunnels here, because on the Mail Rail side of the street is a whole exhibition about the history of Mail Rail. There's an area here of artefacts that were left behind by the people that used to work here right up until its final day. And also, did you know that before Mail Rail opened in 1927, the post office even experimented with an earlier and rather eccentric idea for speeding up mail across London by using pneumatic railways. Yeah, these were essentially underground tubes in which mail cars were pushed by compressed air. Many trials were run in the 1860s, and if you want to have a go at pushing capsule-like railway cars in a tube, you can try your hand here, literally, at giving it a go.
And also, there's this area, what the museum calls their immersive projection space. If you're not able to ride on the mail rail train itself, this film is available for access to all, which demonstrates a journey through the tunnels alongside an audio-visual presentation, which can be subtitled and audio described too. And then across the street from the mail rail is another building which houses another exhibition, this time detailing the history of the Royal Mail itself, from its earliest days right up to the present times. And walking round, you can see a collection of uniforms, mailboxes, stamps, and my absolute favourite, this Royal Mail post bus, which was a combined passenger and mail service that used these small minibuses to carry letters and parcels as usual, but also offered a limited number of passenger seats for local residents. There's a great team here, and the feeling is it's such a great experience. David clearly loves his job.
It is very fun, yes.
A sentiment which Chris also echoes.
It's a story that everyone connects with. Everyone can connect and relate to the postal service, even though the postal service is perhaps something that people don't think about in quite the same way now as they did, 50 years ago or so. People still use it. People still use that physical connection, and it's a story that connects people. And so it's a really important story, and it's one that, as we can see from the people who visit and the reaction we get from visitors, people love it. People can empathise with it, people can understand it and feel a connection to that story.
So my thanks to David and Chris there, and everyone at the Postal Museum here at Mail Rail. You've all been great, thank you. If you want to get tickets, come ride the train yourself, go on a tunnel walk. There is links in the description down below. Go on their website and you can book yourself and come have a visit. It's a fantastic underground. I know it's not secret, but it still feels a little bit secret. It's a brilliant thing to come and do. Come and visit Mail Rail. Many thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.